So after a few weeks of working with the plotter, the Workhorse 3, there are some good things and there's some bad things. So we can kind of talk about it. What is up? Welcome back to the channel. Now I'm gonna get straight into it. Now, you know, if you follow my channel for any point of time, I'm a hand cutter. Like I said in the other video, I've been hand cutting for 7 years full time, and way before that, off and on as a side business, I've been hand cutting. But after a few weeks of working with the Workhorse 3 plotter, I got some good things and I got some bad things to say. So, number one, let's talk about some good. I'm an upbeat, half is full type of guy, so let's talk about the good things. This plotter has been running awesome. I have had no issues with this plotter, and I've been running the heck out of it. I've been cutting tint, and I've also been cutting PPF with this. And once it's set up, the thing is running like a champ. So that is a good thing. Another good thing is, yes, it saves time, okay? I had a 2015 sedan in here. It was my first one that I cut. It was an Impala. Sides and rear, no windshield, nothing else. So I kind of looked at the clock when I first started to start this car, to start tinting it. So I had nothing cut out, I had nothing prepped, nothing at all. So I jumped over in the plotter, I started grabbing all the film for the car, I started cutting it. Now, I was cutting out window by window. I didn't just cut out the whole thing and plot out the whole thing, because actually my peel board is only big enough to have like 2 sets of windows at a time. So I pretty much cut out each window at a time on the plotter, and I did this whole car. Now, usually I double cut and I double shrink. So for me to do a sedan takes about an hour and a half-ish, maybe an hour 45. Usually under 2 hours, I can do a sedan. Like I said, it's not always about speed, but that's just kind of what I do so I can gauge my customers and gauge how much work throughout the day. I put this car in here, I loaded the film, I had it set up on the computer, and it took me about an hour. Okay, it took about an hour to do that car, sides and rear. So I might have saved about 40 minutes doing that car. So it does save time. That's another good thing. Something else that I feel is really good with this is, see how big it is. I can measure the size. So that is good, because I like to see what cars and what vehicle before it comes in. When I get it on my TintWiz app and I know the vehicle for the next day, I can look at the vehicle and I can like just gauge it out, and I can figure out what size film I'm gonna use. I can kind of have all that pre-done in my head before the vehicle even gets here. Another good thing is the way I run my business. I tint for a lot of places outside of my shop. So I have like 3 or so other places, and sometimes I run to different locations for certain customers. So for me to have all that film prepped and all those jobs prepped before I even walk out the door is awesome, because I'm spending more time in my shop, but I'm actually spending less time out in the field, because I have everything pre-cut, I have everything ready to go. So that has been awesome, cutting my jobs. I always talk to people, I get the list of all the vehicles, and so when I get there, I'm pretty much just setting up on a peel board, and I'm ready to go. So that has been really nice as well. So like I said before, man, this freaking plotter has been running perfectly. I have no issues with the plotter at all. I run film and vinyl designs on the PC, and everything has been working really good. One of the things that I said in another video that is I wanted to be getting into PPF a lot more this year. So I've been using film vinyl designs. I've been cutting out on the plotter. This thing cuts out PPF amazing. Like I said, the blades and are dialed in. The cutting strip is dialed in with Gorilla Tape. So now everything has been running really, really good. So let's talk about a few bad things. All right, so let's talk about a few bad things as far as working with the plotter. Now, it's not all unicorns and rainbows. It's definitely not that. So one of the bad things that I found out is when I cut these jobs and I have them all packaged up, ready to go, and I go out to the field to other customers or locations that I tint for, if the customer is a no-show, then that's film, that's just wasted. I mean, I have the vehicle, I can save it for later on, but honestly, that's film I use that's film I cut that I can't even use. So that's pretty messed up. Now, earlier today, I was getting ready to cut a back window for a Dodge Challenger, and I wasn't paying attention as the film was coming through the plotter, and the film stuck to itself and went back into the plotter and crinkled all up. So you gotta pay attention to what you're cutting sometimes and how it's cutting and how it's feeding through, because the way you can scrap more film. So I scrapped film this morning. That's a bad thing. Another thing is, yeah, sometimes the patterns aren't 100% on, right? We all know that. No software is perfect. They all have their little quirks and everything, but for the most part, my patterns have been really good. But what I like to do is bump my patterns just a little bit bigger in the software, because I'd rather just trim it if I need to, have it larger than to be shorter, if that makes sense. I'd rather have a pattern a little bit big, I can just trim it, and then instead of having the pattern short, because when it's short, there's nothing you can do with it as far as that goes. So sometimes the patterns are a little bit off, yes, I admit. But when you're out in the field, if you bring more film with you, you can just hand cut it real quick, because once again, after years of hand cutting, it might come through in the clutch if you have to just cut one window or something. Another thing is, I had a pattern cut out for a vehicle, I got it all installed, and I used my squeegee and ripped the film. Then I had to go back and hand cut. So you gotta be prepared, because everything might not always work perfectly. You might run into issues when you have your film cut or your pieces cut. So I just bring extra film with me so that I can throw it up and I can just hand cut it. So another thing I found out too is when the customers submit their vehicles, if they just say Chevy pickup, there are different visor strips and things in there, and different windshields in there. Now, I won't know what exactly model that vehicle is until it comes to the shop. So it can be a Chevy 1500 or whatever, but sometimes the mirrors are different, or it can be a work truck and the mirrors or mounts are different, or the mirror is this a single mirror and not the whole thing. So sometimes I wait until the vehicle comes so I can look at the vehicle before I go over to the software and cut it. So sometimes you can't really prepare yourself. You gotta kind of wait for the vehicle to get here, because you know there's all different makes and models and different visor strips. But usually for the front doors and things like that, you don't have any issues dealing with software when it comes to that. But sometimes the visor strips and the mirror mounts are a little skeptic. So a lot of times I'll wait if they want a visor strip or something like that. I'll wait and cut that when the vehicle comes in. Cut it out, it takes just a few seconds. Another thing that I forgot to mention about being good, I like to be able to take the patterns and nest pieces together. Okay, so if you don't know what nesting means is when you have the pattern shapes and you can squeeze them all in so they'll fit on a roll of film. Because like I said in the other video, I can use 24s, I can use 36, I can use 40s, 20s. You can use everything that cuts through this plotter perfectly. So what I'll do is I'll nest some pieces together, I'll move them around so I can get more out of a cut instead of just wasting a lot of film. So I really love being able to do that with the plotter and software. Now, once again, sometimes you'll scrap film if you're not paying attention, or the film gets messed up in the plotter. At some point in time, you are gonna scrap some film. It just happens, you know? But one thing I will say, if you're a hand cutting and you have a lot of extra film, save the film on the side, and then when you get your plotter, just use your scrap film to set up your plotter. Because I have extra pieces of film back there, and I'll just grab it and I'll cut something out quick and I'll just practice for the set. You don't have to pull film off the new rolls if you're just trying to set your plotter up. Just keep some scrap film if you know you're gonna get your plotter at some point in the future. So I think that the point in time came when I'm doing enough volume, I'm tinting cars every day, I'm running full time. So I thought to myself, you know, I wanna invest in my business, I wanna invest in myself. So I finally stepped it up and I got a plotter. Now, do not think that plotting and using a plotter is the end all be all. Like I said, there's a lot of good and there's a lot of bad about using plotters. Now, if I was just maybe going on the side and I didn't have the space and tinting on the side and I didn't have the volume, I might not get a plotter. You know, I might not have gotten one because it does take up space. The thing is huge. Some guys run around in mobile work vans with their plotter, and I don't know how they do that. Shout out to them for doing that. But I have the space here to have a plotter. So I just felt like this point in time, I'm busy enough. I tint for a few other places other than myself. The amount of jobs coming in and the business enough to be able to use this thing. Now, another thing that is kind of bad is you're paying for software, you know? So I never paid for software before. So that money could go back into something else. But now every month I have a software fee. So that's an additional charge other than the price of buying the plotter too. So now I got a new monthly fee that you gotta pay. So it's an added expense. So that could be a bad thing, that could be a good thing. But once again, it's helping you be efficient and it's helping you get cars through your door quicker. Now, another good thing I would say about having the plotter, if I hand cut 3 or 4 cars or vehicles during the day, I was working, I was moving, I was grabbing film, I'm measuring it, I'm rolling it, I'm putting it up on the peel board. Now with the plotter, it basically, you use a lot less energy because the plotter is doing all the work of the cutting. You know, when I hand cut, I used to put my double cut 2 pieces of film up on my peel board, I run over to the vehicle, I put them on there, I go back to the peel board again, I'm going back and forth, I'm using a sharper, I'm marking all the steps that it takes to hand cut. I don't do any of that anymore. You just come over to the plotter, you put the vehicle in like half a second, it cuts it out, it's ready to go. So I found that when I was doing, another day I had like 4 or 5 vehicles to do, I plotted all them vehicles, I installed it, and at the end of that day, I had just used less energy so I wasn't as burned out. Because of course, the plotter was doing all the work, so I was just putting out less energy. So that's another thing, man. So if you have 4 or 5 cars or whatever vehicle on your schedule and you're plotting them out, honestly, by the time you get done with those vehicles, you feel like you can still do a few more, you know? If I do 4 or 5 or 6 vehicles in one day hand cutting, I was running, I was moving, I was trying to get them all done. But now you save time and you use less energy. So, I mean, that could be a good or a bad thing. I don't know, I'm not as young as some of you guys might think I am. So at the end of the day, I don't want to be wiped out, but by doing these vehicles with the plotter, man, it's just way less energy that you have to use getting the job done. So I don't know if that makes any sense either, but in my mind, that is a good thing, not being burned out or wiped out at the end of the day. I can just plot all the vehicles, have them ready to go, shrink them, and install. Those are some good things and some bad things about having a plotter. I'm gonna be 100% with you guys. I love having this thing. After so many years of hand cutting, I got the plotter. I'm not all about that hand cutting plotter debate because I'll go on Facebook groups right now, and every time someone says about something about a plotter and about software, people are like, well, hand cut. You know, everything has a purpose. Everything has its own place. I'm not gonna tell a new guy just starting out, go get a plotter. But you know, you can still hand cut and you can plot. It's just perfectly your own choice. I'm not gonna say which one is better than the other because sometimes, like I said, the plotter software isn't the greatest. You might waste film, but sometimes the plotter software is gonna be dead on, you get that window done and you're out the door. So there's good and bads with everything. So this is some experiences I've had with running a plotter for a few weeks. I'll touch base and keep you guys updated. Hopefully it's some food for thought. If you're tinting or you had a plotter or you don't have a plotter, I can do PPF, I can tint, I feel like I can schedule more vehicles. So things are constantly changing. So if you found any of this info useful, man, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, man, hit that subscribe button. I'm gonna have more content coming soon. And until next time, guys, I appreciate everybody watching. Stay faded. Peace.